My God, what's Bond doing?
I think he's attempting re-entry, sir.
From Russia with Love, coming up next. Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenet. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time. And today, this is Tommy's first time watching the classic Bond from Russia with Love. Tommy, how did you like my cold open, aka we just sat here for 20 minutes trying to figure out something. And I was just like, I'm gonna pull the funniest clip in a Bond movie from Moonraker.
That was from Moonraker right there. So I've never seen Moonraker either, and I feel like just based off that one clip alone, I would have loved Moonraker a lot more than I love From Russia with Love. So Brandon Lead wasn't a big fan of Russia with Love.
I think when we do, because we're going to cover more Bond movies, because I've seen I've seen all the Craig, I've seen 3 out of 4 of the Brosnan, no Daltons, and not the Lazenby one, but I've heard the Lazenby one's fantastic. I've seen 4 Connery and 3 more Roger Moore. So like I think you would like the Roger Moore ones a lot. But yeah, I'm a bit of a Bond aficionado. This was definitely my pick after Tommy just slogged me through the mud in Halloween with horror. Just non-stop horror. I get to be like, Tommy, we're going on a little fantastical adventure with my good pal James Bond.
So yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm as big of a Bond fan. I mean, I've seen all the Craig ones, and the only Connery ones I've seen are now this one From Russia with Love, and then I've seen Dr. No and Goldfinger, and I've seen Goldeneye, and that's the only other one I've seen. So I mean, like, it's never been a franchise that really has been big for me. I think probably because when I was a little kid, I was obsessed with Austin Powers, and Austin Powers just ruined the Bond franchise for me, I guess. Like, I think the first James Bond movie I ever saw in my life was Casino Royale. So I'm just putting that out there.
Casino Royale very much feels like a response to Austin Powers in terms of like the entire tonal shift from like the Craig movies almost stand apart from all the other ones that have come out.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I probably like them so much more than the other Bond movies I've seen.
Well, they feel very contemporary, where all the Bonds before that definitely feel dated. I don't care that they feel dated. I think that's mostly their charm. But we'll obviously dive deep into that. You don't even like Goldfinger, man? Like, Goldfinger is so good.
I thought it was all right, but I don't know. Just in terms of like pacing and just like direction, the direction falls flat for me in that movie, and just like I don't know. I wasn't really a big fan of the action from what I remember.
Well, the action in any of these early ones is not going to knock your socks off, Tommy. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just expecting more than like maybe I'm expecting like I'm looking at this from like a 2022 eyes where I'm just like, oh, come on, like you could have something like, but it just dynamic wise, it just a lot of the Bond movies, just like, especially the early ones, feel a little bit like a slog for me. So sorry if you love them, but I don't know, they're not for me. I'm realizing.
Maybe I'll change your mind over the course of this podcast. This is From Russia with Love.
In front and all over the place. Thunderball and From Russia with Love.
So yeah, I understand that wasn't strictly a From Russia with Love TV spot, but I don't think the audience really understands how difficult it is to find a From Russia with Love TV spot from like 1963. They just don't. If they existed, they're very rare to come by, and
they're just not on YouTube.
We're not covering Thunderball. Maybe a future one will cover. Did you see? Of course you did. What's the Edgar Wright Last Night in Soho?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, like when she enters the dream world for the first time, that's what's playing on the multiplex or at the cinema there. Is James Bond and Thunderball. That's actually the one I haven't seen one of the ones I haven't seen of the Connerys. Saw Diamonds Are Forever, but I haven't seen Thunderball.
I mean, I love the theme song for Thunderball. Tom Jones is the shit. So I mean, like was Thunderball the first one where like they were really like, let's get a pop singer to like do
Goldfinger
the
is
Goldfinger? Okay. Um,
Goldfinger. Bum,
yeah.
bum,
Because this
boo.
one at least had the theme music. I don't remember if the theme music was in Doctor No.
It was. I just rewatched Doctor No for the first time last week. That's what made me think of this. I was just using my Fire Stick, and I was like, "Wait a minute! Every James Bond movie's on Prime," and
Mhm.
I'm like, "Yeah, every
was
James Bond movie's on Prime. Let's go." So I started at the beginning. Let's do some From Russia with Love talk because we should probably do that since this is the movie we are covering. I'm sure we're not going to exclusively stick to From Russia with Love. James Bond willingly falls into an assassination plot involving a naive Russian beauty in order to retrieve a Soviet encryption device that will be stolen by Spectre. So you just didn't like it. Like, tell me what you didn't like about the movie.
I just wasn't really engrossed in it. I just like the with I feel like I do have sometimes a little bit of a problem with older movies, but you know, I still do can appreciate like some older classics and stuff like that. But for a reason in this movie, the direction just fell flat. Like the plot, I was just didn't really care that much, and just like it just kind of felt like a bore, and it kind of felt like watching like, you know, a TV movie or something like that in aspects for me. So I kind of just checked out when I watched this, if I'm being honest.
That's interesting, Tommy. So let me tell you this. I'm looking right now at Rotten Tomatoes, all 27 James Bond movie ranked by Tomato Meter, which is obviously a very flawed scale.
Yeah.
Where do you think From Russia with Love is on this list?
Oh, probably like top five if I had to guess.
It's number two. And what do you think
Yeah,
number one is?
probably Goldfinger.
It is Goldfinger.
Yeah.
Now I don't think that's I would put Goldfinger top five. My personal favorite is Skyfall. I just think that's like the epitome of what you can do with a Bond story in terms of like making it personal, having like a really iconic villain and using like contemporary data as like the main threat because that was
Mhm.
all about information. And I really, really love Skyfall. Casino Royale is also top five. I would argue that Connery and Craig have had out of all the Bonds have had probably the best scripts to go off of
Mhm.
because I think with From Russia with Love, there's a style and pace difference that was just much more commonplace at the time. Feel like with From Russia with Love, there's a it's it's tight. It's a really tight script, and I think it's like a great example of, especially think about it as the second time you're seeing James Bond on a screen. You
Mhm.
saw in Doctor No with the with what was her name, Honey Pie or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
Him being protective of her. But this is the first time that we see with Bond, oh, he starts falling in love with the Russian agent that's supposed to be trapping him, basically. Like they get the orders to come in to get this machine from Istanbul, and M and Bond are like, yeah, this is obviously a trap. But he starts to fall for her more and more, become more and more protective of her, which I found to be an interesting, like, when you think about it in the context of this being the second Bond film, you kind of see a very selfish laying demand, which you would have to be a secret agent man like 007 is. But it's interesting to see a little more into Bond's character, which I would maybe even argue they don't really fully get into until the Craig stuff.
Well, yeah, I think that in general, this was a better movie than Doctor No. Doctor No, I told you before we started recording. I remember watching this with a friend, and we were all amped up to watch a James Bond movie. Never watched a Sean Connery before, and I was bored out of my goddamn mind. I just did not like it. I just, you know, I appreciate it for what it was, and I appreciate, you know, the cultural context of it. Obviously, even with this movie, I can't like, you know, deny that. But for whatever reason, these movies just don't work for me. And not until maybe I'd probably appreciate the Roger Moore era more, where like, you know, where it seems more goofy or just
They're
gets
definitely
more
more
into,
goofy.
yeah, and more gets into like the absurdity of the premise and stuff like that. Because for whatever reason, I mean, like Timothy Dalton, I love GoldenEye, but this
That's Brosnan.
that's probably, well, sorry, yeah, I mix them up my bonds, but it's just in general, with this one, I mean, like, I don't know, the chemistry was definitely there between him and what was love interest name again?
I don't, it doesn't matter. The love interest is Tatiana.
Romanova. She was good and stuff like that, but it was just generally like it would seem like just her character was just immediately from the start like, oh, I love you, James Bond, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, and there wasn't really any character there except for just like that's it. It seemed like for me.
No, and like the Bond girls are very hit or miss. Like I would say Dr. No and then Goldfinger like have the two strongest Bond girls, or two of the stronger, especially from the early eras, where you see a lot more behavior from Bond that would not fly in a contemporary Bond film.
Well, yeah, even in this one, he fucking hits her around and shit like that. So I mean, there's one thing that like I've noticed when I've been watching in some older movies. In this movie, Tatiana, she's played by what's her name?
Daniela Bianca.
Diana Bianca, but her voice is dubbed over by Barbara Jefford, and like for whatever reason, dubbing just almost never works for me, especially when in a movie like this where you have Sean Connery's real voice, you have everyone else's real voice, and just when you have a character's voice that very clearly just isn't really syncing up or doesn't really feel, it just doesn't work as much for me. It takes me out of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to give it a lot more leeway in like a 1963 James Bond movie because it's just like that's just what it is. And like from what I understand of like the production team, the Broccoli production team that has famously been running the Bond, like that family's been running Bond for 60 years. That's just what they do, Eon Productions. They're very meticulous about the details of their films. And to me, I think that's almost the biggest strength of Bond movies. And I view Dr. No and From Russia with Love as like the two building blocks of that led to Goldfinger, which led to like the real winning formula.
You can see it like it's slowly started coming out here, and especially yeah.
I think Dr. No did the locations and the sets better than this one did, and like this one is kind of stuck on its location. It's in Istanbul, like underground in layers. Like it doesn't really go anywhere fantastical. But Dr. No, when you go into Dr. No's lair, right? Like they're in the radiation field. They go through this whole chamber, which if you've never seen Dr. No, but you've seen the Austin Powers waking up from the carbon freeze and he's peeing for 2 minutes, that gag. That's where it comes from, like the wash off on the Bond. And then they're in this crazy hotel room with like a full complex, and they go up to Dr. No's like conference room or dinner room, whatever, and it's this like it's crazy built into the cave with like the fish aquarium, like the actual aquarium glass like built into the layer. They really nailed that on the head in the first shot.
I think that this was like my problem probably with Dr. No, is that, or not Dr. No, From Russia with Love, that it just felt very static to me in a lot of ways, in terms of like the set and locations, where a lot of it was just people talking in uninteresting rooms and just like nothing really visually standing out there, and just like it kind of lost me a little bit, where it just was a little more dialogue heavy than I would have wanted out of like a movie like this.
And I would agree with you on that in terms of like the static nature of From Russia with Love. Like really the only cool thing is when they go down into like the catacombs of Istanbul to spy on the Russian embassy, and they take this boat, and then they have like the submarine, the telescope. That's pretty cool. Like that was a cool little gadget that they had there. But I think the other thing that, Dr. No's like kind of convincing, but he's fairly goofy. Like he's got these black hands. And then I don't know what you remember of Dr. No, but the end is
not
like
much.
they're doing like a missile launch, right? And Bond saves the day, and they're in these early 1960s radiation rooms, and like that's the Bond that had the lowest budget because it was basically viewed as a B movie, Dr. No, when it came out. And like the sets look so like the set of the nuclear reactor room, like it looks so like B movie 1950s. Like it's great in that respect. I think in this one they built up more of the menace of the villains and like the cunning of the villains. Like I think Robert Shaw as Grant, like he is fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, so I don't want to like spend this whole podcast being a negative Nancy just shitting on this movie. I do have to admit, Robert Shaw I thought was really great. But one thing I have to point out, so this was like what, 1963?
Yeah.
And Jaws was what, 1975?
Yeah.
That motherfucker aged so poorly in the course of 12 years.
Well, that's because he drank quite a bit, like Quint,
yeah.
in that
Yeah.
time span. Because I think he died like 2 or 3 years after Jaws because he was
Mhm.
just a drunk. I love the scene on the train when he finally traps Bond and he kind of unveils the plan that it's Spectre, that it's Blofeld that's kind of running this evil syndicate. You can hear the cold, calculated menace in his voice.
We were keeping you alive until you could get us the Lecter.
So you had me delivered on a plate. That's brilliant. Go on, I'm fascinated.
Now that we've got it, you and the girl are expendable. Between here and Trieste.
The girl? Isn't she working for Spectre, too?
No. She thinks she's doing it all for Mother Russia. She takes her orders from Colonel Klebb.
Rosa Klebb's Russian. Head of operations for Smash.
Was. Klebb works for Spectre now. The girl doesn't know that.
Well, then why kill her?
Orders. That's only half of it, old man. Here's a roll of film. She'll have this in her handbag. And on you, they'll find this letter. It's from her, threatening to give the film to the press unless you marry her for helping you get the Lecter.
What film?
Taken in the bridal suite at your hotel. Something else the girl didn't know about. Or you.
Must be a pretty sick collection of minds to dream up a plan like that.
Basically, in that scene, like right there, I thought that was where the movie kind of gripped me. I think it's probably my favorite part of the movie, of just like, we knew as the audience, we knew that it wasn't really, was it Nash or whatever he was supposed to impersonate right there?
Yes.
And
yeah, we knew it wasn't him.
Yeah. And at first, like when he slipped that like little drink into Tatiana, I thought that like it was like, oh, are they just gonna kill off the Bond girl right here? Is this how it happens? But it just really felt a cool little action set piece where like it was just very enclosed, very tight quarters right there with Bond, and Bond just like really, like, he could have easily killed Bond. I mean, that's the stereotype of all these movies, but he had a monologue.
It's any movie with.
Yeah, exactly. I can't give him too much shit, but still, it was still fun. Where in that little sense on the train, where I thought that was a really cool set piece right there.
Yeah, the train is definitely, I think, the high mark of the scene. Like I would say the part where the movie lost me is like that gypsy dance scene, like where they go to that gypsy party with Karim Bey, played by Pedro Armendáriz, who I didn't know before this, but he rocked the socks off of like the guy that James just becomes James's buddy in this location of the world. Like that's his character. I thought he was pretty awesome in that role. But like they're at this gypsy party and then they're attacked by the Soviets, and that only happened so that Robert Shaw could be like, I protected you. I made sure you didn't die at that party. Like that was the only reason that party scene existed. It felt very, very out of not of the movie.
It's a very random set piece, and like I mean, how many times have you seen this now? Like a few times.
I think this might be my third time. I remember watching a lot of Bond when I was young, but like I definitely didn't process them. Probably why I just have like an affinity to Bond.
Well, so that's the one thing I'm wondering if, like, if we rewatch this, I don't really remember seeing Robert Shaw in that scene.
He's there. He's there. He's got like a pistol with a silencer, and he's just in one of like the mirages, because like he's following the Russian, the Soviet troops or whatever that were going to storm this party for whatever reason, because that's what Soviets do in Istanbul in 1963. Tommy, you didn't know that?
No, apparently not. One of the things that's funny about the looking up like the history of this movie was apparently, according to Wikipedia, one of the reasons why this movie was fast tracked and this was chosen as the next Bond movie, because this wasn't chronological as the next Bond novel, was JFK himself said that From Russia with Love was one of his like top 10 novels of all time in an interview with Life magazine, I think in like 62 or something. So the producers saw that and are like, okay, well, we know what we're gonna do next then. And this was also apparently the last movie that Kennedy saw before he went into Dallas. So, fun trivia fact there.
Wow, we're just having a lot of this is our second movie with John F. Kennedy Dallas facts, huh?
What was the other one? What, Strangelove?
Yeah, Doctor Strangelove, like that movie was supposed to come out like the week after the assassination.
Oh yeah,
And they were like, "Yeah, we're pushing it back. Yeah, nope, can't do that."
Yeah, well, actually, connecting this to Strangelove, the production designer of Doctor No, Ken Adam, did not return for what's it called, From Russia with Love, so he could work on Strangelove. So I mean, like, right around the same time.
I think you can almost see that because the production design of Doctor No, I would say, is superior, and maybe it just has to do with like the settings itself. But Istanbul is like a pretty romantic place, and that you could explore like the little markets that exist, the churches, like the church, like they go into the church to meet there, and it's kind of unromantic. Like it didn't feel Bond. Like visually, this is probably the least Bond that I can think of, like in terms of
exactly,
which is where they nail it on the head. But in contrast to that, From Russia with Love, I think nails the plot and like the dialogue and like gives Bond's character a little more room to breathe, to learn a little bit more about him.
I think that like overall, yeah, like this is a better movie than Doctor No, but you really isn't that much interesting visual things. I think the one thing that really stood out for me visually was in the beginning when he's doing that chess match. It was just like the giant chessboard and everything. That I thought that was a little cool, but other than that, I mean, it just, like I said earlier, just felt like boring drab office locations where like, this was an Istanbul. We could have had like more cool exotic locations come out or something like that, and just something visually striking. And we didn't really get this out of this movie.
When you could then get to Goldfinger right after this, like that's where that movie shines. It's just awesome location after awesome location. Like I know you probably don't remember a lot about Goldfinger, but like when they're at Goldfinger's like house in Kentucky, his horse farm, and how he's going to show all the mob guys his plan, and like how all the furniture turns into the map of his plan, and Bond's underneath, like looking at the end. Like that's so cool. Like that's what you want out of a spy movie. This one I think illustrates a more cohesive plan and introduces like the overarching villains of the Connery ones that come back a little later with in the last two Craig movies, because they had the Craig movies, you kind of had like the finish of the Craig era with Skyfall. Like they could have ended it there, and then they're like, well, we don't really want to recast Bond yet, and we're going to offer Daniel Craig a whole lot of money. Let's bring back Blofeld. Like, what are we going to do?
Might as well. So connecting this movie to the movie we covered last week, I know Donald Pleasance played Blofeld, and I think in like For Majesty's Service or something, one of the Bond movies. So little fun little trivia casting right there. But I mean, yeah, the villains over here were fine. I mean, Robert Shaw was memorable, but I mean, like Blofeld, I mean, it's one of those things that like fucking, this is another thing that Austin Powers just ruined. Just the whole menace and like stereotype of Blofeld of like the guy stroking his like a little cat right there.
I don't think so. I like, you say ruin, and I don't like that term in terms of like what Austin Powers did, because I think Austin Powers 1 is like a master satirical film, and then The Spy Who Shagged Me is really good as well. I think that it removes the context of what makes these movies great. Like think about like watching this in the height of the Cold War, and especially where you're not getting the kind of information about current up-to-date world politics that you would be getting nowadays, that you can find nowadays. It adds this like fantasticalism, right? Like it's basically like it's a lucid dream, basically, the Bond movies, in my opinion. And like that's why the Roger Moore ones still work, even though they're goofy and silly, is that they're all, it's a fantastical adventure. Just think of it as like the Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, but it's set on Earth, and it's a spy that can fly a plane, and he can drive a car, and he can operate a boat, and he can drive a train. Like he could do anything, right? Like he's just that multifaceted tool. Bond almost has a little bit of that Indiana Jones in him, right? Like the big critique of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is a masterful film, is that all the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark would happen without Indiana Jones. It's not
Yeah.
exactly that for Bond, but you could take the Bond away and put another everyman character into it. It's not as effective of a film, but it's James Bond isn't
Driving force.
the driving force of all the plots and stuff like that. And frankly, what makes Bond great is how he reacts to the trouble he gets himself into. Like when he gets himself tied up and how he works himself out of situations. Like you see it evolve between like Dr. No, like he just sees an exhaust hatch in the prison on the base and he escapes. In Dr. No, he remembers the stuff that's in the briefcase, gets the golden keys out. Robert Shaw Grant has one of those spy issued briefcases that he sold that M conveniently tells him has the powder in it, right? Like the knockout gas, all for a cigarette, and that's what you know what I mean. And then in Goldfinger, when he's tied up to the laser beam, and Goldfinger says "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." Bond uses all he has, and all he has is he understands the name of a mission, and tells him like, "I've told my superiors that can you really risk killing me without with what I could possibly know, right?" Like it's like an improv artist in the face of like life or death danger.
Yeah. Bond just pretty much just like flying up by the seat of his pants, just constantly, just like, oh, this has happened. This has happened. Oh, Robert Shaw, you're not actually a British guy. I guess I should have known that. Cool. Well, here's my little gas tank. Yeah, here you go. You're out of there. So, I mean, like, that's really what it is a lot of the times. It's just like, the like, oh, Bond's backed into a corner. How's he going to get out of this one this time and stuff like that over and over. So, I mean, like, this movie from Russia of Love really helped build up the little bit of tropes. Like I did like the intro sequence where it was just Robert Shaw, like on a training mission to like,
and that you think they're killing Bond, and it's just some guy in a training segment on the Spectre base.
Yeah.
And think about like the era that this is following, and like think of like the Flash Gordon shorts that would come out at that time, like these very simple adventures where at the end they're going to get caught in a corner. Well, how are they going to get out of it this one? Like that is directly influenced like the style of these movies, and probably even the novels. I haven't read the novels, but to that extent, like it has that kind of pacing to it, like that kind of like we need to always do that. Like especially in the earlier Bonds, the action doesn't like the action ends and then the movie ends.
Yeah. Well, this one, I mean, like I did like the little action set piece in the end of the main mastermind behind all of this. I mean, other than Blofeld, what did
Rosa Klebb?
Rosa Klebb. I like the whole like knife shoe thing that she had right there, and like how like immediately that set some stakes. That felt like a more interesting action set piece that the rest of the movie I felt for the most part was kind of lacking.
Yeah, this movie doesn't have a ton of action, which I think almost works in its favor in these, especially in these earlier Bond movies where the action is usually tad clunky. They definitely save all their action for the last 20 minutes because you have the train fight, then the escape in the car with the helicopter, then the boat escape, and then like the face off with Rosa Klebb in the hotel in Venice. All of that in sequence, and then outside of the gypsy scene, there's a whole lot of no action. I guess they blow up the Russian embassy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not a type that's just like needs my movies to be like action, 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 action. But I just didn't find the build up to it and like the engrossing like set pieces and stuff like that. The direction kind of just fell flat for me in a way that like I just wasn't engrossed with the story and wasn't really locked in, and just kind of just felt bored, to be honest, when I was watching this. And it wasn't until like the last 20 minutes where it started getting a little bit more interesting with the Robert Shaw scenes and stuff like that on the train. But before that, I just kind of was like, oh, they're just going from one place to another, just talking and talking and talking. And it wasn't visually interesting in a way that it could have engrossed me.
I gotcha. And like, I want to talk about the setup that they have of the shoe with the poison venom.
Mm-hmm.
When Spectre's plan fails to kill Bond and retrieve the MacGuffin, the coding device or whatever, Klebb, Blofeld, and Kronstein are in the room, and it's a very tense moment to see who's going to die. And I really wanted to just put Blofeld in there because I just love his performance.
3 men were found dead on the train at Trieste. One of them was Grant. What have you to say in number 5?
It was Klebb's choice. Her people failed.
It was your plan. They followed it implicitly.
Impossible. It was perfect.
Except for one thing. They were dealing with Bond.
Who is Bond compared with Kronstein?
Exactly. What have you to say to that, number 3? Bond is still alive, and the Lector is not yet in our possession. I had already negotiated with the Russians to return it to them. We've agreed a price. And Spectre always delivers what it promises. Our whole organization depends on our keeping those promises. I warn you, we do not tolerate failure, number 3. You know the penalty.
Yes. Number 1.
Our rules are very simple. If you fail,
And that's when they kill Kronstein, and it's a good fake out, right? Like Klebb thinks she's the one that's going to die pretty much the entire time, and it's definitely shot that way in classic misdirection, right? But it's also a good way to show what the shoe is to the audience. So then that way, 15 minutes later, when the shoe appears again, or not even 15, like literally like in the next 5 minutes, you know exactly what that shoe is and what it can do and how fast it can kill Bond. So it just adds that extra tension.
Yeah.
To that
And
scene.
I do love just like the Blofeld voice right there of just like this, like almost like very English gentleman. Kind of reminds me of the Christopher Plummer type of voice. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Where it just adds that kind of just like weird, like British menace to it right there. And just typical, awesome, like little stock villain voice right there. And just kind of adds to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a stock villain voice, but I almost think it's like it became a stock villain voice, right?
This is a case of like, you know, a lot of these things are like tropes that I'm like kind of shitting on. It originated with this movie. So it's just like one of those things that like, you know, at the time this was really original and really like, oh my God, like this is crazy and stuff like that. But looking back, maybe I don't think it plays that well as much.
Fair is fair, Tommy. I can't change your opinions.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
So we're like near the 30-minute mark of this podcast, and we've barely talked about the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Sean Connery.
Yeah, so I think there's only one answer. Sean Connery's the star of this movie, obviously.
Obviously. Let's talk a little bit more about Sean Connery. Like, what do you think of his performance as Bond? Because now this is his second iteration of the character. Like, this is the second time anybody's ever seen James Bond.
He's very suave in this movie. I almost wish that like there's a little more emotion out of him sometimes in some ways, because it's like I know the whole point of Bond is he's supposed to play very, 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 very cool, but in some ways, in some scenes, you would have wished of him to have show a little bit more like a little more interesting. I guess I don't know the way to play it.
The way that they were kind of defined, especially to me as a kid, it's like, all right, Connery's the suave one. Moore's the funny one, Dalton's the stern, serious one, and Brosnan was kind of like took the pieces of all the 3 main Bonds, or the ones that had more than one movie, George Lazenby, and kind of meshed them all together. And Craig just they're their own thing. The Craig movies, like they're completely different from these Bond movies. I think that like he's got a real charm to him.
Oh yeah,
that it like electrifies the screen, especially when he's talking with Moneypenny. He always does that where he's like flirting with her. He's like, you know, I would take you to Morocco if I had the time. You know, you've never seen Morocco? Oh, it's beautiful. It's a nice hotel room, right? Like he has that, like you could just see why any woman would fall for James Bond.
Well, it is funny. I mean, this is essentially the main character of James Bond, but like throughout this movie, he's just like going from like girl to girl to girl, and like everyone just immediately like he could have Gone with Money Penny, and then like the girl in the beginning of the movie.
Well, the girl from the beginning of the movie is the one from the beginning of Doctor No when he says
Yeah,
Bond, James Bond. That's the same girl.
exactly.
Money Penny's like that's like the thing that they do. Like it's in every Bond movie that he
They
flirts
just
with
flirt.
her.
What's so funny was the girl from the beginning of the movie. They were originally going to have like it be like the trope of every movie was going to have him be with her to start off the movie and just be like, "Oh, sorry, honey, I got another mission," and she's like, "Oh, like I wish you'd stay longer." And then after this one, you're like, we don't need to play that again."
Yeah, no. I think it's there's a part of me that almost wishes it was in maybe one more. Like Goldfinger, like Bond's on a mission at that point. So
Mm.
yeah, it's probably for the best that he's not involved, like that he's not with her in that for that opening.
Yeah.
But there's is a part of me that thinks it would just be very funny if every Bond movie, like every intro Bond, is just him in some other like romantic location with the same woman from the first Bond movie.
Yeah. And just every time, just like, okay, well, we're never gonna see you again for us in a movie.
That's it for your screen time, honey. Here's
Yeah.
Here's your $10,000 check. Hit the door.
You get 10 minutes at the beginning, and that's it. And don't ask to be a major part of this.
I know you haven't seen any Roger Moores or Timothy Daltons. Do you think Connery is deserved of the best Bond? Because I think a lot of people would say that he's the best Bond because he's the one who really brings most of the characteristics that all the actors share to the light. Like they all add their own twists to it, but he's the one who brings like the archetype of what this character needs to be in order to work.
Yeah, there's also a sense of just like, yeah, he's the first one to come out here. He's the one who pretty much just like everyone's going to be compared to. I mean, like the second you take this role, I think I kind of prefer Craig, but it might be because I prefer Craig's movies more. And I'm not sure where the line kind of goes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe Tommy, we can start doing a monthly Bond film if you want on the podcast.
Oh God, no.
No, Tommy, I'll do a Roger Moore one with you for you in December. That way you can get some of that excitement that you love from some of that humor, the goofy over the top humor.
Yeah, well, I think that like when people think of James Bond, the first one that comes to mind for most people is probably going to be Sean Connery. I mean, this could be a situation of like you always love the Batman that you grew up with, or like our generation is Christian Bale, or generation above us it's what's called
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, exactly. So like this
well,
could
you're
be
skipping Val Kilmer very conveniently, Tommy.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm fucking with you.
Yeah,
relax.
Yeah. But so regardless, yeah, this could be a similar situation right here. But I think that Connery at least lays the claim of just like this guy's fucking cool. This guy's the fucking man.
Yeah, and I think if you showed if you've never seen a Connery Bond movie, there's a very good chance that you've at least seen the clip of him lighting the cigarette going Bond, James Bond, right? Like you probably like it's just so iconic to the like for a movie franchises that's this old and that part in its history is like a big part of its success too. Like I think you can't envision that, right? Like, and this is obviously completely different because it's a million different characters, but think of the Marvel movies that are what 15 years in basically of the MCU or whatever, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
20, 30 years from now, if they're still able to keep them going, still able to print the money with them, is it going to be like, oh, well, it's obviously Robert Downey Jr., like he was the one who set the fly-in, like he was the man, like he set the thing, or is it going to be whatever kid that hasn't even been born yet that's going to be the big reincarnation of Captain America, Spider-Man, whatever it is in 30, 40 years?
Well, what they're going to do eventually is I have to imagine like the next 10 or 15 years, Marvel's going to have to like, just recast characters over and over again.
Tommy, what I think is going to happen is that there's going to be a bomb, like one of the Marvel movies is going to like not hit 9 figures at the box office, and they're just going to give, hey, I know we killed you, but here's $50 million to be in another Iron Man movie, and like it's going to happen at some point.
You think they're just gonna go back to that well? I mean, I I don't know. There's so many people that like they have such a diehard fan base within that like it just prints money. I almost feel like Marvel's almost too big to fail. But regardless, so this is a different discussion right now. In terms of Bond, I mean, like
They said the same thing about the Roman Empire, Tommy.
they did. You know, I guess all empires do fall. So, but I don't know. Would you say that Connery's your favorite? I mean, like,
I mean I think and it's the one I grew up with was Brosnan, right? Like GoldenEye, like I was 6 or 7 or whenever. Not even, but just like he was the one when you were a kid and you just GoldenEye the video game is probably more prevalent when I was a kid than GoldenEye the movie because I was like 4 or no, I was 2 when GoldenEye came out. So yeah, definitely didn't see that in theaters. I
yeah,
did see Die Another Day in theaters. I remember seeing that in theaters.
I mean, I played GoldenEye the game like all the fucking time when I was a kid, and I didn't see the movie until like quarantine.
Brosnan just like if you had to like if you had never heard of James Bond before, but you just had to mentally picture what this British secret agent suave man looks like, it's probably Pierce Brosnan. Like I don't think they could have cast a better look, like a better version of what that guy should look like. Like actually, when they were recasting Roger Moore, they wanted Brosnan, but he was on on a soap opera and couldn't get out of his contract. Not a soap opera, I don't know. He was on a show, couldn't get out of the contract, so they ended up going with Timothy Dalton. And then when the Dalton ones kind of fluttered because they made them much more serious, like 80s action movies, and took away from like the Bond-ness of them, there was a huge gap. I think it was like 88 was like the last one, and then GoldenEye was 95. Like that was the biggest like hiatus between them. Maybe, yeah, I think that was the biggest hiatus between the two Bond movies.
Because yeah, Dalton was only like 2 years after Roger Moore's last movie.
Living Daylights was 87. It was 87 to 95. Like that's a huge gap when you think about it.
It was 89 because he did.
Dalton It was 89. It was 89.
Yeah,
okay.
That's Dalton did License to Kill, but that's still a big gap. Yeah.
What was Spectre? Spectre was 2016, and that was 4. It was supposed to be 4. It was ended up being 5 years, but it was supposed to be 4 years. Like Spectre was supposed to come out, or No Time to Die was supposed to come out in 2020.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Spectre was like 2015. So it would have been like about 5 years, which would have been an okay gap. I mean, like even the gap between or Brosnan and Craig was only 4 years.
Yeah, no, that was because Die Another Day was 02, and I'm almost positive that Casino Royale was 07. Okay, so that was 4 years too. Yeah, but also I get like just think about the way that film production has changed comparatively from the Dalton to the Brosnan versus like Casino Royale to No Time to Die. Like No Time to Die is the biggest Bond movie there ever has been. Like that movie is massive. It's like almost 3 hours long, which a little too long in my opinion for a Bond movie.
Yeah, that one kind of dragged, but I think Craig overall has been good. But I mean, like, there's no Bond actor that doesn't have a spy track record. Some of their movies are good, some of their movies are just
it's all the script quality. And like I listen to podcasts with like a lot of diehard Bond fans. They're like the further they stray away from the Ian Fleming books, the worse they tend to get. And then with like the later Bond ones, like because then they did Quantum of Solace, which is just like that's easily Craig's worst one. But I would say the other 4 are either two of the top 5 Bond movies ever made, or they're like really good movies. And I would even say No Time to Die is probably top 10 in my opinion.
Okay, man. So yeah, I definitely said Quantum Solace was forgettable. I mean,
oh yeah, I couldn't tell you what happens in Quantum Solace, but so just I know we shouted him out earlier, but Robert Shaw, just awesome, great Bond villain.
Yeah, he was like really just captivated this movie, and he really took it to another level where the movies kind of lose my interest, and then right when he got there back there in the train scene, it just picked back up for me, and then it brought me back in.
He has that intensity that will capture you for sure.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Tommy would From Russia with Love work as a Muppet adaptation?
I feel like James Bond as a whole, yes, could, but this movie isn't goofy enough to really match the intensity of the Muppets. It would need to be a little more zany. I feel like
the Roger Moore ones would there'd probably be some crossover there.
Yeah, they'll probably be perfect for a Muppet adaptation, but this one's a little too like not campy enough.
Yeah, it doesn't have the camp in it yet. Goldfinger really like starts to bring the camp in. Like that's when they lean on it. Like it's a little bit in Doctor No, but like they're still playing them pretty straight from the books, and then they realize, hey, let's make it campy, and that's definitely the winning success for James Bond. Yeah, I would if I'm picking a Bond movie to adapt into a Muppet adaptation, it's definitely not this one.
Kermit would be James Bond, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Oh, name's Bond, James Bond.
James Bond. James Bond. Yeah, after Cody doing his Kermit impression, we might just have to retire ours because it's like not even close.
Yeah, exactly. Our guest last week had a A+ fucking Kermit impersonation.
It was so good. I was like, oh, they could actually hire you to do the voice because it was that good. It was
that fucking good.
All right, Tommy, I'm very curious to hear what your score is. Review time.
So, I mean, I know I spent a lot of this pod just shitting on the movie. I just think that with a lot of older movies, the direction really wasn't there. It was just not in a visually interesting way. This movie, like we talked about a lot over the course of this pod, visually just wasn't interesting in terms of set design and stuff like that. That being said, Connery's performance was great. Robert Shaw's performance was great. So there was some stuff that made me a little bit captivated. So I'm going to go 2.5 out of 5. I didn't hate this movie completely, but I wasn't the biggest fan. I felt like it could have been better and could have been more engaging for me and didn't really capture my attention all the time.
So Tommy, I love your grading curve because I'm just like morbidly curious, like what a 1 out of 5 looks like from you, because everything you said leading up to this moment meant this movie was like a 1 out of 5.
All right. Let me change it. I was being nice. 2 out of 5.
Again, everything you said leading up to this was a 1 out of 5, and then you're just like a 2.5 out of 5. Oh, being nice too. No, it was a 2.5 out of 5. You commit to what you said, Tommy. Commit to it. No, it's 2.5, 2.5 out of 5. Don't. Nope. You lost. You can rewind and hear him. If I didn't say anything, you would have kept it.
Pull back the tape.
I think this is an excellent building block for the Bond movies in general. I think they really combine Dr. No and From Russia with Love and really find the winning formula in Goldfinger, which is why it's still so revered and considered the best Bond movie, if not the top 3 best Bond movies. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. I really liked it. If you're really interested in learning more about where James Bond comes from, you're going to get a really intriguing story, like good villains, like Bond barely overcomes them in one this early, and they outmaneuver him too. And I always like in these kind of spy movies when the villains are actually intelligent and have clear direction in their motives. Like their motives are only like, oh, we're just like an evil group, so like that's what we do. But they're like very smart with it. It's 3 out of 5. First James Bond of many for the podcast, Tommy. You're laughing, but this might just turn into James Bond month.
This is just the payback for making you do a horror month.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see.
So Tommy, any final thoughts?
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. You can listen to us. Leave us 5-star reviews on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow us on social media at CNETPod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And we have a great month coming up. We're going to be covering the Mighty Ducks next, or
Mighty
is it going to
Ducks, be another... Mighty Ducks is next. I mean, don't tempt me with a good time, Tommy. I will throw The Spy Who Loved Me right down your throat if you really want me to.
Oh God, please save me. So I'm going 2 out of 5 final score for this.
No,
movie.
Shut up. Tommy had 2.5. I had 3. Tommy has no scale for movies he doesn't like. He just calls them all 2.5 out of 5. So
I give a movie 1.5 recently.
What movie did you give 1.5?
Some Chucky movie I watched last month on Letterboxd. So
I guess we won't be covering it on the pod.
No.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you again next week.